Somebody commented yesterday afternoon that feels like their ego is getting beaten up by this text. Well, that's good. Because remember that this text has been showing us that our real enemy is our self-centered thought and our self-grasping ignorance. So if they feel a bit in jeopardy, that's good. We don't want our true enemy to feel comfortable and relaxed. Okay. So it's also important to remember that our self-centered thought is not who we are, it's not part of us. So when we notice the selfishness within us, which the text is pointing out, we don't start hating ourselves for being self-centered. Okay, this is really important because disliking ourselves, self-deprecation, these kinds of things, that's only more self-centeredness. Yeah. So don't get it in your head that you now have to criticize yourself for being selfish, because that doesn't do anything to get rid of the selfishness. It just makes us feel more insular and locked into ourselves, and I'm the only one who's so selfish, and I'm so bad for being selfish, and I'm so guilty because I'm so selfish. And again, it's all about me, isn't it? There's no thought about anybody else. So we have to, always drop this unreasonable way of thinking about ourselves. So we got through verse 70 yesterday. So we'll start with 71. So all these verses, again, are pointing out the things that we would like to have or like to do or to actualize, and how our behavior brings the opposite result, because our behavior is done on the basis of ignorance, anger, and attachment, or on the basis of the self-centered mind, so that we sabotage our own happiness. Okay? So 71, forsaking the gateway to liberation, I wander in the wilderness. Okay, so we all want to get liberated, so what do we do instead? We go backpacking, we go skiing, we do all sorts of things, in the wilderness. There actually is a monastic practice of wandering the wilderness. But just having your body wander doesn't mean that your mind is focused on the Dharma. Okay? Though obtaining a precious human birth, I seek the hell realms. Okay, so we have a precious human life with all the necessary conditions to be able to practice the Dharma. And a precious human life isn't just any old human life. It's one in which, we have the opportunity, in which we have our health, our senses are intact, we have some faith, we have spiritual curiosity, we're able to meet Dharma teachers and the Sangha and come and listen to teachings. So, not everybody who has a human body has a precious human life. So it's important to appreciate our own spiritual interest and respect ourselves for having this. Okay, but though we have this precious human life, we seek the hell realms, meaning that instead of making use of this life to purify our mind, to create merit by doing acts of kindness, being generous, living ethically, and so on, we just let our greed, hatred, and confusion run the show, and as a result, we're having feuds with this one and angry at that one and hating ourselves and, all this kind of junk, and that just creates the cause for a lower rebirth. Yeah? So we keep coming back to this thing of, self-sabotage. Although we want to be happy, we're not doing what we need to do to create the causes of happiness. So the thing is that we can change, if all of this depended on pleasing an external creator or something else like that, then we could never be, secure in finding happiness, because it would always depend on some other living being. But since real happiness depends on transforming our mind, this means that it's within our own power and ability to transform our mind and create the happiness that we want. So dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher, an enemy, ego. Okay? I like this thing, dance and trample on the head of this betrayer. That's really, I mean, do you get this image of, kind of, oh my, it's sometimes interesting to anthropomorphize your self-centeredness or our self-grasping ignorance and, imagine what they look like and then, be Yamantaka and dance on the head of that. Yeah. So sometimes our self-centered thought looks like, I have one image of this kind of blob with big eyes and kind of lacy collar and sucking her thumb, going, poor me, nobody loves me, And that's just pure self-centeredness and then, kind of dancing on the head of that. Or you might have the self-centeredness that is just, this big old Tarzan, oh, I'm in charge, everybody's going to listen to me, I'm going to win all the arguments, And so it's sometimes interesting to kind of make a figure out of it and then imagine dancing on the head of it, destroying it. 72, putting aside spiritual development, I pursue the profits of trade. Okay, so instead of staying put in the monastery or, continually going to Dharma classes, we pursue business. We want to do business deals. Okay, so we want to go off here and there to close this business deal, to sell that, to trade this and that, to make a lot of money. Yeah, so money's useful, but it's something that is useful only in this life, and at the time of death we have to leave it behind. So making it the chief God that we worship really is again, digging ourselves into a very uncomfortable hole and giving up the actual cause of happiness through Dharma practice. Okay, leaving my teacher's classroom behind, I roam through towns and places. Oh, there's some people I would like to send this verse to. So, instead of staying near our teacher and studying and really taking the opportunity to learn, we just go roaming in this town and that town with our backpack, seeing this, seeing that, meeting this person, meeting that person, doing this, hitchhiking there, for no apparent purpose, and we may say, oh, we're, learning the Dharma, but actually our mind is during the course of that, is actually stuck in, where am I going to get my next meal and where am I going to sleep? And, do people think I'm some great spiritual practitioner when they walk past me? And, so all sorts of worldly thoughts. So dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher, an enemy, ego. 73, forsaking my own livelihood, I rob others of their resources. Okay, so if you're a lay person, you earn your own livelihoods through reasonable work, through work that is right livelihood. In other words, you're not damaging any living beings through the kind of work you do. But instead of doing that, we cheat and rob others of their resources. Okay, so we, not just breaking in houses, but lots of white-collar crimes and lots of ways of cheating and deceiving people to get things that we want. Even going into our parents' home and kind of opening their wallet and taking a little bit of cash and, or our grandparents' home. I hear many stories of this, people doing that. Yeah? So even to your own parents or grandparents taking what from them, what hasn't been freely offered, let alone, borrowing things from friends, or like we were talking yesterday, the person who comes to visit and eats all your food and doesn't contribute anything. Okay, 73. I'm not going to read the refrain on each verse because we have a lot to cover today. So that was 73. So 74. Alas, though my endurance for meditation is poor, I've sharp clairvoyance. Which means we don't really have clairvoyance. Okay, either that or we have some ability to see things in the future, but it's come about through karma, not through actual meditative ability. Yeah, but the actual cause for these kind of supernormal powers is to have serenity and single-pointed concentration and be able to go into the jhanic realms. Okay, but we like to brag about our clairvoyance and our supernatural abilities and how we know this and that, and give other people the feeling that we're some kind of special person. Though I've not even reached the edge of the path, my legs are needlessly fast. So one of the supernormal powers that you get when you have samadhi and serenity is it's called fast legs. It means you can walk through the sky and get places really quickly. Yeah, so this verse is really kind of making fun of people who think that they're quite well advanced, that they have clairvoyance, that they have this ability of fast legs, but in fact their meditation is poor and they haven't even entered the first of the 5 paths. Okay, so again, it is kind of referring to how we like to present ourselves as very spiritually astute and realized and having great abilities, and so other people will think we're kind of special. 75. When someone gives useful advice, I view them as a hostile foe. When someone fools me with treachery, I pay the heartless one with kindness. Okay, this is, if you're like me and you're really attached to praise and you're attached to reputation and you want to hear only nice ego-pleasing words and have people say, oh, you're so good, you're so wise, you're so all this, very beautiful stuff about you, and you're very attached to it. Anybody here attached to their reputation and to praise? Yeah, you want to hear people say, I love you, you're the most wonderful person in the world, I'll never leave you, I'll always be with you, And we like to hear this, we lap it up, don't we? Okay, so when somebody who really cares about us, gives us useful advice, like maybe they see we're going down the wrong path, and they say, hey, you're drinking a little bit too much, actually a lot too much, and that's not going to lead you anywhere good. Or, you're spending your money kind of recklessly, and that's going to really lead you to a lot of problems. Or, the way you're treating your family members is rather disrespectful, and, that's going to threaten your relationships with them. People give us good advice, and point out to us things that we need to work on, and we don't like to hear it. I want to hear nice ego-pleasing words that say how wonderful I am. I don't want advice of people pointing out my faults and telling me, about my bad qualities, and so I view them as a hostile foe. You're criticizing me, you're dumping on me, you're always on my case, you're bossing me around, I don't like you. When actually the person is coming and trying to point something out to us that it would be rather useful and beneficial to us if we paid attention to. So that person we view as a foe, okay? Whereas somebody who fools us with treachery, someone who comes along and flatters us, who is so kind, oh, you're so wonderful, here I brought you a present, here's some cookies, here's some flowers, what do you need me to do? You are the most talented person in the world. Oh, we adore that person, don't we? Yeah, we just go for it. And the person's manipulating us. They want something from us. And we just fall completely for it. And I repay that heartless one with kindness. So to that person, I am so kind. You know, they're just ingratiating themselves with me to get something. And I just shower my love upon that person. But the person who's really trying to help me, who's pointing out my problem, I ignore, I'm angry at, I don't want to talk to. So what's the reason for this? Self-centered mind, isn't it? Yeah? Attachment to reputation, attachment to praise. And that depends on self-grasping ignorance. Okay? So we need to be aware of this, because otherwise, you know, we really give up the people who are trying to help us. You know, our Dharma friends, you know, very close friends, our Dharma teacher, you know, points things out to us. Why are you always picking on me? So-and-so does the same thing. How come you don't say it to them? How come you say it to me? You know, and if you're going to point out my faults, teacher, at least you should say it in a nice voice. And don't do it in front of everybody else. In fact, don't do it at all, because you do the same thing. Bleh. You know, and we talk to our teachers like that. Or sometimes not quite as exaggerated, but, you know, almost. Yeah. No, I've talked to people who've actually screamed at their teachers. They get so angry. Yeah. So, you know, you can see that it's, you know, self-sabotaging. Okay, 76. When someone treats me as their family, I reveal their secrets to their foes. When someone befriends me, I betray their trust with no pangs of conscience. Oh, we're a sorrowful sight, aren't we? Okay, when somebody treats me as family, somebody's nice to us, they bring us in, they take care of us, they know we're lonely, or they know we're going through a hard time, they really reach out to us, they treat us like family. And, you know, and they may tell us personal things, or, you know, we're living with them, so we see what's really going on in their house. How do we repay their kindness? We reveal their secrets to their foes. We go around blabbering about them. Yeah. You know, we get close to somebody, and they confide in us, and then we go spread all the news to their enemies, to everybody else, and create a whole lot of problem for that person. Just because we like to feel important, because we have the latest news about what's going on. Did you hear about so-and-so and so-and-so and their marriage, blah, 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 and their children, blah, 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 and his career and her job, and on and on. And we, you know, we get some kind of feeling that we're important because we have the latest gossip to show. But actually, you know, what we're doing is betraying somebody else's trust. When someone befriends me, I betray their trust with no pangs of conscience. You know, so again, the same thing. Someone is kind to us, what do? We betray their trust. Yeah, we backstab them. We get them to tell us useful information, then we use it against them. Okay. So this kind of behavior is, this is really what tears the social fabric apart, you know, and creates so many problems in homes and families and office places, you know, because we're not very good friends to other people. We don't know how to, you know, keep something confidential. We don't know how to repay people's kindness in a proper way when they're trying to help us. Yeah, and instead we just, you know, do whatever as long as it pleases us. And then we wonder why we don't have good relationships with other people. Yeah? Don't we? How come, you know, I just can't seem to have any friendships that continue on for a while? Well, sometimes it's helpful to look at the way we treat the people we want to be friends with. And that may become clearer to us. So this doesn't mean we're bad people, it just means we're doing things that are counterproductive and that we need to change our behavior and our way of thinking. 77, my ill temper is intense, my paranoia more coarse than everyone's. Hard to befriend, I constantly provoke others' negative traits. Sound like anybody you know? Oh yeah, that person over there, they have a really bad temper. Well, what about us? My ill temper is intense. You know, how do you treat the people you care about the most? Do you say please and thank you? Do you go out of your way to help them? Or do you demand that they do things to you? You know, do you treat your kids as if, you know, you're the drill sergeant and they're the new recruits? Get up, eat, brush your teeth, get ready for school. Why didn't you do your homework? Come on, we're late, get in the car, shut up. And then you wonder why you don't have good communication with your kids. Okay, my ill temper is intense. My paranoia more coarse than everybody's. That person at work, they looked over my shoulder when I was working at my computer screen. I wonder what they're looking at. You know, my neighbor they were a little bit too friendly. I wonder what they want. Yeah. My dog even looked at me, you know, in a certain way. I know he's manipulating me to feed him. That one you're probably right about, but you know, it's a dog. Give him a break, you know, he's hungry. But it's our paranoia, you know. In other words, our mind is making up stories. The angry, self-centered mind makes up stories and sees harm where there is no harm. Okay? Right, Cora? Right? That's true, isn't it, huh? Okay. Hard to befriend. I constantly provoke others' traits. I am disagreeable. I am bossy. I, am rude. I interrupt people. We haven't talked about that one. Anybody here interrupt people? You don't let people get in a second word. You talk to them when they have things to do. You don't talk to them when they need somebody to talk to them. Okay, so we're hard to befriend, and we do things that drive people buggy, and then they become angry and rude and obnoxious because we're just provoking them. Because our mind thinks, I want to have my way. I want things to be my way. I'm stressed out, so I can, that entails me to boss everybody around because I'm stressed out. Or I'm in pain, so that enables me to, treat everybody else and make them in pain too. Yeah, so that way of thinking and acting doesn't really bring the result we want. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy ego. When someone asks for a favor, I ignore him, yet covertly cause him harm. When someone respects my wishes, I don't concur, but seek disputes from afar. Okay, when somebody asks us for a favor, we walk right past them. Yeah, somebody, maybe at work you're walking by and you hear your name, but you kind of pretend you don't hear because you're afraid that person's going to ask you to do something. Yeah. So we do this. We learn that behavior as teenagers, walking past our parents when they say, Joe, okay, Mom, Dad want something. Well, all of a sudden, my hearing's off. And I walk right by. Okay, I ignore them, yet covertly cause them harm. Okay, so somebody wants a favor, we don't do it, and then we instead do something to antagonize them, to cause them problems. When someone respects my wishes, when, someone does go along with my demands and so on, or they respect our opinions, yeah, then we don't concur, but we seek disputes from afar. Yeah, so somebody's nice to us, somebody respects us, but then we continue to create some kind of controversy. A couple of days ago I was talking with somebody and they were telling me about something, even in Dharma circles, about, a certain Dharma person who he loves some controversy. He loves to get people in the group stirred up, And there's some people like that. It's like, let's create a little bit of controversy here. And let's, stir stuff up. And, and so they say things or they do things that are really antagonistic, and then it causes a lot of disharmony in the group. Now, sometimes it seems like our spiritual mentors do that, yeah? Because it's sometimes the case, my experience anyway, is when you have a very prominent teacher coming, then everybody's working very hard, everybody's stressed out, and then people start snipping at each other. Yeah, so you're working for the benefit of sentient beings, and you want His Holiness to come, and beat, this stupid person hasn't done their chore, and but it's not our teachers deliberately stirring things up. I think life just happens, and we get stirred up. Yeah. Okay, 79. I dislike advice and am always difficult to be with. I am easily offended and my grudge is always strong. Ugh. Do you like that kind of person? I dislike advice, so every time people try and, help us out, we don't like it. I'm difficult to be with. I don't clean up after myself. I expect other people to clean up after me. They should wash the dishes, they should do the laundry, they should pick up the socks, they should do blah, 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 blah. Okay, rake the leaves. Yeah. So I am difficult to be with, demanding. Any small thing I want, I let everybody else know. Every time I'm a little bit uncomfortable, I make sure everybody around me knows that. I'm easily offended. So, please, when you say hello to me in the morning, you have to say it in a certain loving way with a smile on your face, because otherwise I'm going to think that you don't like me and you're out to get me. Yeah. Do you know some people who are easily offended? Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, all these things that I'm reading here, I'm sure we can think of people we know who have these faults. Yeah? Right? But the point is to look and see how we have them. Okay? Yeah. Are we easily offended? Yeah. Sometimes we are, aren't we? Yeah, somebody says something in a certain way and we get miffed. We don't want to talk to them. We are grumpy and grouchy. Okay, and my grudge is always strong, so somebody does something I don't like. I hold a grudge. I am not going to forgive them. And I'm going to let them know how much I hate them because they deserve it. Yeah. Now, I don't know about you, but I come from a family where grudge holding has been brought to a certain level of competence. Passed down on my mother's side from one generation to the next generation. Yeah, it started with my grandparents' generation, and the brothers and sisters of that generation don't speak to each other. Their children, my parents' generation, my mother didn't speak to certain of her brothers, and one of her brothers, and the two sisters ganged up against him, and da-da-da. Then my generation, I was just talking to my sister the other day, and I found out one cousin, she has 4 siblings, because there's 5 kids in the family. She doesn't talk to any of her siblings. So as a parent, if you hold these kind of grudges and don't talk to, other family members, what are you teaching your kids to do? Not talk to their brothers and sisters. Yeah? You're mad at your parents, so you ignore them in their old age. What are you teaching your kids? To ignore you when you're old and can't take care of yourself. Yeah, so we need to kind of look at this thing, because it's not very productive. It just creates more cause for harm, and then we wonder why our Dharma practice isn't going anywhere. Well, You know, we have to look at our mind. 80, I crave high status and regard sublime beings as foes. Because my lust is strong, I eagerly pursue the young. Okay, so we want high status. Maybe, you know, you're a Dharma teacher of sorts. You want to be recognized. You want Tricycle to interview you. You want Buddha Dharma to do a special on you. You want Shambhala to write about your, you know, your latest activities. You know, that's not good enough because those magazines only reach Buddhists. You also want the new, you know, the New York Times to, you know, recognize you as man or woman of the year, and you see sublime beings as foes. So the bodhisattvas you see as competition. You know, you compete with your spiritual teachers. You know, I can explain this better than my teacher does. When my teacher explains it, he has very heavy accent. No one can understand it, but I can explain it so clearly, and all the people like when I teach. You know, so we see, you know, the people who are our teachers and leaders and who we depend upon so much as competition. Yeah, which again, you know, bad news when we do that. Because my lust is strong, I eagerly pursue the young. Well, Bill Clinton can give you some lessons about that, and John Edwards and Newt Gingrich. And, you know, just look at the people who are supposed to be the leaders of this country, who are supposed to be the leaders in the private sector, and look at their behavior. You know? I mean, if you're going to be in a leadership position, you have to have your life in, you know, you don't have to be perfect. Yeah, expecting leaders to be perfect is unreasonable. But you do have to be kind of ethical. Yeah? And if you're, you know, in a position of responsibility, I mean, nowadays they have ethical codes for teachers and social workers and so on and so forth about, you know, not having relationships with people when there's unequal power. And yet still, people do this and they somehow feel, well, I'm not going to get caught. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? After, you know, all these scandals have been revealed in the last 20 years, and then they still continue with very prominent people misbehaving and somehow being very surprised when other people find out about it and they're caught. Yeah? It's like, you weren't supposed to notice that my campaign contributions were going towards my mistress. Because actually they weren't, you know, or whatever, you know, whatever was going on, okay? So dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher, an enemy, ego. Because of fickleness, I cast far away my past friendships. Infatuated with novelty, I talk animatedly to everyone. Okay, did anybody do here? Anybody here do this? Because of fickleness, you know, we may have had very good friends, people who were close, people who trusted us, people who rely on us, but we're fickle. We want something new, we want something excited. That friend, you know, just same old boring things. I want to, you know, make friends with people and go out and play golf with them and close business deals or, you know, whatever your way. I mean, you may not want to play golf, you want to smoke a joint and close a business deal. You know, everybody has their own way. But, you know, we don't have much loyalty towards friends, yeah. Now, it is true, when you really get into Dharma practice, your friends change, because you find that, you know, with your old friends, you don't have as much in common with them as before. And that's kind of very natural, and those friendships fade away. But at least with Dharma friends, you know, we should try and be a good friend to other people. Yeah. Infatuated with novelty, I talk animatedly to everybody. I talk day, I talk night. I've got to tell you this, I've got to tell you that. Doesn't matter whether you're interested in my life, you're going to hear all about it because I'm going to keep on blabbering. Okay? So to develop some kind of sensitivity to when is a good time to talk and when is not a good time to talk. Yeah? When do people need silence? Because they need to think about something. When do people need to talk? Because they need help digesting. Yeah? So instead of just going by what I feel like, developing a sensitivity to the situation, to the people in it. Having no clairvoyance, I resort to lies and deprecation. Having no compassion, I betray others' trust and cause their hearts pain. Okay? So, having no clairvoyance, I'm still very arrogant, conceited, so I resort to lies, pretending that I know things and, giving people prognoses that are all made up, and to deprecation, to criticizing other people. Actually, fortune telling I don't think is so difficult. Because if I told you, next year, you're going to get sick. Yeah, you go, oh dear, I'm going to get sick next year. Okay, look back every year of your life. Have you gotten sick every year? Yeah, we at least get the cold or flu or something every year, don't we? Yeah, but a fortune teller tells us we're going to get sick. I'm like, oh, okay, I better really take special care. I remember one time they were having some kind of new age, expo in Spokane, and somebody offered us a space, for our Dharma books. So we thought, okay, let's share some Dharma with people. So we, had a table, set up the Dharma books, and there was a psychic on this side and a psychic on this side. And people stood in line for the psychics. Not so many people came to look at the Dharma books. And, the psychics, oh, you want $45 here? You want $35 here? You want $50? I will pay, And then the psychic is doing their thing, and the person listens. They're all sitting there like this. Because what is the psychic talking about? Me! Me! So, I can do the same thing. You're going to get sick next year. You're also going to meet some really interesting people next year. Yeah? You're going to form some new friendships next year. Yeah? You're also going to be challenged in some ways that you didn't expect. Okay? Yeah, so I can kind of tell you, Yeah, you're going to get older next year, and you're going to, have to think a little bit more about aging. Now, if I said that to you individually, you'd probably pay me $75 for it. No? Okay. Having no compassion, I betray others' trust and cause their hearts pain. Yeah, so sometimes we're really so insensitive to others' feelings. Yeah, so insensitive. We think other people don't have feelings. Yeah, they're beyond that. So I can do whatever I want, They're not going to have feelings about it. So sometimes look at the way we treat our parents. Yeah, or look at the way we treat, Aunt Ethel, who, she complains a little bit, but we treat her like she doesn't have any feelings. Yeah. How do we treat people when we're in a hurry? Like they don't have feelings. How do we treat strangers? Similarly. Okay? So, to really try and have some compassion, it doesn't mean we have to become Mother Teresa. But, at least let's try and be kind to the people in our lives. Because Mother Teresa doesn't go to your job. She can't help the people at your workplace, but you can. Yeah, if you have even a little bit of compassion, you can help make your workplace, a good environment. I did prison work, and I was reading a letter from one of the inmates, And he's really trying to work with the Dharma, and he's actually fortunate in that his prison has a factory, and so he's able to work instead of staying cooped up in a cell all day. And he says, like he's really trying to practice smiling at people, trying to be kind to the staff, because sometimes the staff, they have certain schedules that they have to meet, and so then the inmates have to work harder and make more T-shirts and so on. And so he tries to be understanding when that kind of thing happens, and he's finding that his working relationships with the staff are going much better because of this. Yeah. Okay, 83. Though my learning is feeble, I guess wildly about everything. As my scriptural knowledge is scant, I engender wrong views about everything. Okay, so I haven't learned very much, but somebody asked me a Dharma question. I am happy to give them an answer, even if it's one I make up on the spot. Yeah, but this is so dangerous, because what I've noticed is that what people remember is the first things they were taught about a certain topic. And so if you are guessing at an answer, or you're not quite sure, but you explain it anyway, and what you say is incorrect, if you're explaining something to a newcomer, that's what they will remember. And then when a teacher comes along and tries to explain it to them the way it is, they'll say, but I learned da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then that puts the teacher in a very difficult position, because they don't want to say, well, what you learned is BS, even though it is. And they don't want to criticize anybody, but you're kind of stuck in your old, the person's stuck in their wrong view, because the person who answered their question just wanted to look good, and made up an answer or incorrectly explained something or whatever. So, if you don't know the answer to a Dharma question, better just say, I don't know, and I'll ask somebody who does know, or I'll look it up. Yeah, that's much better. Much, much better. I mean, I've seen His Holiness the Dalai Lama do that. Now, you ask him a question and he says, wait a minute, let me get the text. Okay. My scriptural knowledge is scant, so I engender wrong views about everything. So again, that's so detrimental, especially if somebody thinks that you're a Buddhist teacher and then what you teach is incorrect. And I'm actually quite alarmed about this whole thing in the U.S. I went to a supposed Buddhist teachers conference a few years ago, and it seemed there were, maybe 350 people there or something. I mean, a lot of people. But it seemed like the only qualification you needed to call yourself a Buddhist teacher was to be able to teach, mindfulness meditation. And that's not the only qualification you need to be a Buddhist teacher. I mean, there's so many things you need to know. Yeah. And so there were all these people there that hadn't studied the texts very well. They didn't know Buddhist philosophy and the worldview very well. Many of these so-called Buddhist teachers, when we had a show about who believed in rebirth, many of them didn't believe in rebirth. Some of them didn't even want to call themselves Buddhists, but they were just, and it's really alarming, because if you do that, it can be so harmful to other people. Yeah. On the other hand, if your friends are interested in the Dharma, they're not looking to you and expecting you to be a teacher, and they ask you a question, share what you know with them, don't, or give them a book, or say, well, I've heard this, but, this is just my rudimentary knowledge, and, I'll take you to a teaching and you can learn more. So don't be bashful about letting people know you're a Buddhist, but, don't put yourself up as, I call it the chai shop guru. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Habituated to attachment and anger, I insult all those who oppose me. Habituated to envy, I slander and denigrate others. So yucky, isn't it? Okay, habituated to attachment and anger. So I get attached a lot. I'm greedy, I'm angry, I hold grudges. So what do? I insult everybody who opposes me. So at work, anybody who has a different idea, they don't know what they're talking about. And I say bad things to the boss about that person because they don't agree with my idea. Yeah, so instead of being open-minded, listening to other people's views, I insult that person and call them names. Somebody does the smallest thing I don't like, I just criticize them and insult them. Yeah? So, I was telling you about my family. So I remember as a kid, going to visit my aunts and uncles, and then when we would drive away, my parents would kind of criticize their brothers and sisters and the people they were married to. Yeah? So that's the kind of example that from that I learned how I don't want to be. But this kind of thing is really what tears families apart. Yeah, just insulting people. They disagree with you. They have different political views, so you insult them. And the way TV is becoming now, all these talking heads. People are just so rude, and interrupting each other, calling each other names. Even in Congress, it was really awful how our Congress people were behaving in the last few weeks, the way they spoke to each other, the way they spoke about each other. And this is not good for the country. It's not good for society. Yeah. So we can't stop them, but we can watch our own mouth. Okay, habituated to envy, I slander and denigrate others. So I'm constantly jealous, And jealousy is a signal of our own insecurity and own lack of self-confidence. So we're always jealous. This person's going to be better than I am. This person has more. They have a better reputation. So we don't want them to be happy. So what do? We slander them. We say true or even untrue things about them behind their back. We put them down. Yeah, we're rude and uncooperative. Yeah. And where does it get us? Then we wonder why we're unhappy at our job. Yeah. Okay, 85. Failing to study, I have forsaken the vast scholarly disciplines. Failing to rely upon teachers, I defame the scriptures. Okay, so this is, somebody who thinks they're a big know-it-all, but in actual fact they're quite lazy. So they don't study and they disregard, all the scriptures, all the teachings from the Buddha, from the great masters, even, teachings that their own teacher gives. They think, I can learn the Dharma by myself. I've heard enough, I'm just going to go off and practice and become awakened. Whereas you look, and even the great masters always go when His Holiness is teaching, even if His Holiness is teaching a very simple text that they themselves can teach. The great masters always go to listen. Okay? But we think, I know so much more. I don't need to study anything. Failing to rely upon teachers, because I think that I don't need teachings, and teachers are a pain in the neck because they're all trying to control me. So I defame them, I defame the scriptures, and I go off on, being my own independent, Dharma practitioner who's going to forge the way to awakening. Good luck. 86. Instead of teaching the discourses, so the sutras, the shastras, I expound lies of my own invention. Failing to cultivate pure perception, I utter insults and threats. So instead of teaching, the texts of the Buddha and the great Indian masters, the great Tibetan masters, we make something up and we expound it. And it's not true, But from my deep meditation, I saw that emptiness actually means that you're full of light and love and bliss. And if you follow the way I'm teaching because I have high realizations, you will also become a great spiritual practitioner. Okay, so we make up things, we put ourselves up instead of being a humble practitioner and using the texts and teaching what's true. So again, this is what destroys the Dharma, when people do this kind of thing. And then other people, they learn the Dharma in a wrong way, then they pass it down in a wrong way. And it's really only because generations of people before us, stuck to what the Buddha taught, that we're able to come along now and actually learn the teachings. Otherwise, we would be learning some gibberish that some guy made up last week and is marketing in the New Age newspaper this week. Yeah. So let's in America, we always think what's new is going to be better. But when it comes to the Buddha's teachings, understanding what the Buddha taught himself, understanding what the great Indian sages and practitioners taught, that's much better than the new realization of the new American guru who only charges $99.99 if you enroll in the course this weekend. Okay, so failing to cultivate pure perception. So when we do tantric practice, we're supposed to cultivate pure perception and see living beings, in a pure way. So instead of doing that, we utter insults and threats. Yeah, so again, we're disagreeable. We're just hard to be with. Okay, and then we're always so surprised when we have problems with other people. Yeah, have you had that happen? Why doesn't so-and-so like with me? Well, maybe I should look at how I've talked to that person. But we don't. 87, refusing to condemn deeds that are contrary to Dharma. I level various criticisms against all well-spoken words. Okay, so deeds that are opposite to the Dharma, somebody is selling the Dharma for their own livelihood, somebody is making up their own way to paint Buddhas, Buddha figures, somebody is, making up their own stuff. I had somebody come to me who was a musician, and he said, is it okay I change the Tara mantra? Because I have this new melody, and if I add an extra tutare or ture, it really fits the melody, and that makes it look really good. So now the mantra is, whatever, Om Tare, Tutare, Ture, Tutare, Ture. So, and I did that, and is that okay? And I said, no. You can't make up mantras. You can't change the mantras. These are what the Buddha spoke. It doesn't matter if it fits your melody or not. Because he had made it up and made a CD with all of his new tunes for the mantras, changing the mantras. Okay? So refusing to condemn deeds that are contrary to the Dharma. So, I could have said, oh, that's very, very nice, and I'll recommend it to everybody, so why don't you give me a cut of your sales? I received a letter. I should have saved this letter. I think I eventually threw it out. This was a gem of a letter. It was from some group in Canada, and they were going to have, this was a couple of years ago, some new age, thing in the summer that was, like the new Woodstock for spiritual seekers. And everybody was going to be there, everybody who knows anything about spirituality, and we were going to have a new convergence, and we could teach anything we want and do the groups we want, and it was going to change the world, and it was going to be marketed to all these different people, and they offered all of us who participated a cut in the profits. Yeah, we were invited to speak, and we were invited, if we helped them to market it, to have a cut in the profits. I felt like throwing up right then and there. And it came in this beautiful thing, I remember it had like this big invitation. You opened up like these little doors in this nice stationery, and oh, it was sickening. Okay? So, refusing to condemn deeds that are contrary to the Dharma. I level various criticisms against all well-spoken words. So somebody teaches the Dharma, somebody teaches what to practice, what to abandon. We don't like it, so we criticize that person. Okay? Oh, so you have some guru who is, going around with the young women in the group. I think you're a dakini, you must have very special powers, And then it's kind of the whole speak in the group is, oh, the guru's interested in you. This is a great compliment, Maybe you are a dakini, because he wants to have sex with you. And then you get close to the guru and he's going to fulfill all your needs. And this is a real honor and privilege. So, whoa, whoa. And all the guy's doing is sexually abusing her. Yeah. But everybody kind of goes along with the whole thing because everybody's getting something out of it in some, dysfunctional way. And the person who stands up and says, this doesn't seem right to me. It doesn't seem to correspond with the precepts this person has. It doesn't seem to correspond with the example the Buddha set or with what the Buddha taught. Then that person is, wait a minute, you're blowing the whistle. And people don't like that. Yeah. Huh? This is what you call cult. Yeah. But of course, once you're in it, you don't realize that because this teacher is so marvelous and they have many titles and many people think that they're just fantastic. Yeah? So you criticize, the correct Dharma teachers. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception. Mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. Failing to regard signs of disgrace as a source of shame, perversely I hold what are signs of honor as a source of shame. Okay? So we misbehave, signs of disgrace, we think it's great. I'm in the New York Times, they write about all the, things going on in my Dharma center, and now more people are going to come. But what's going on in my center is disgraceful. Yeah? But now more people know about me, and they're going to look me up on the web and come. And then perversely, what are signs of honor we hold as a source of shame. So, people who behave with proper ethical conduct get ridiculed. That person is so uptight. They are just so strict with their precepts. They are so uptight. They don't realize this is America, and American culture is different. And things that you couldn't do in Asia, we can do here. Yeah, we can drink and we can take drugs and we can sleep around because that's what everybody does and it's totally okay. And that person's just so old-fashioned, the way they keep their precepts. Yeah? This guru is new and modern. Look, he goes to the disco. Well, I read a story in the New York Times about one Buddhist guru who was going to the disco. Really? That has been written up in the New York Times a few times, actually. Okay. 89, failing to pursue any suitable deeds, I perform instead all that is inappropriate. No need for comment here, you know? What's to be practiced, we do the opposite. What's to be abandoned, we do it. Okay? We make up our own ways of meditation. Yeah? You don't need to study the scriptures about how to cultivate single-pointedness. I have a new way. Yeah, you sit down here. You know, I went one time. The only time I've ever been invited to give a talk where nobody showed up. Yeah, it was in 89 or 91, one of those 2 years. I was in Florida. I was invited to some kind of shop to give a talk, and it's a New Age kind of shop where you sit in this big comfortable chair and put your legs out, and they put something on your head that does something to your alpha, beta, and theta waves, and you know, you listen to certain music, and that puts you in a deep meditative state for $99.99. So all the people went to do that. Nobody came to my Dharma talk. They offered me, you know, they felt bad for me, so they offered me if I wanted one of their treatments. I said, no, thank you. Okay. Yeah. 90, powerful one, you who possess the bliss-gone's Dharmakaya, and destroy that demon of egotistic view. O wielder of club, the weapon of no self-wisdom, twirl it over your head 3 times without hesitation. So here we're now shifting again. Yeah? So hopefully, you know, our ego feels pretty beaten up by the end of verse 89, it's like, yeah, I know. So now we're calling upon Yamantaka again. So he possesses the bliss gone, that refers to the Buddha, the one gone to bliss, the Dharmakaya, or the wisdom, the omniscient wisdom of the Buddha. We're calling on him to please come and destroy the demon of egotistical views. So that's the real demon, our own self-centered mind, self-grasping ignorance. Okay, we're asking Yamantaka to wield his club, which is the weapon of the wisdom realizing the emptiness of inherent existence. So when it says no self-wisdom, it's talking about the wisdom realizing selflessness. Yeah, so that's what the club represents. Twirl it 3 times over your head without hesitation. So, bonk me with wisdom, you know, knock some good sense into me. With your great ferocity, obliterate this enemy. With your great wisdom, dismantle this false conception. With your great compassion, protect me from my karma. Help destroy this ego once and for all. Okay, so Yamantaka, this wrathful embodiment of wisdom and compassion, you know, like I was explaining yesterday, when we think of this very wrathful embodiment, sometimes our mind can get very quiet, very still, you know, because, you know, you do a clear visualization of Yamantaka and it's like, this is no nonsense, you know, I got to pay attention here. And it really helps us to concentrate and to focus and to do our meditation properly. Okay? So seeing Yamantaka as the embodiment of wisdom, you know, please, you know, help my own wisdom to grow. Teach me the Dharma so that I can generate the wisdom that realizes emptiness. With your compassion, you know, please teach me all the ways to purify my mind and how to create merit. So, you know, and in that way protect me from my karma. Mm-hmm.
I know earlier in the text it said, you know, swing your club 3 times over your
head.
Are the 3 times symbolic?
Yeah, I'm sure the 3 times are symbolic of something. I can't remember what. So I can make something up if you want me to.
No, it's okay.
But It could be the three principal aspects of the path. It could be the three kinds of learning. It could be, you know what it could be? Yes, serenity, insight, and the unity of the two of them. That might be it. The serenity, insight, unity of the two. Okay. Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Great. What does it say?
It says,
What does it say?
It says, you request Yamataka to swing 3 times around his head, his skull-headed bludgeon representing both the wisdom of egolessness, common to both the perfection and tantra vehicles, as well as the non-dual wisdom of voidness and bliss. 3 times he swings his bludgeon to destroy ego-grasping first, our self-cherishing attitude second, and third, our defiled bodies of delusion by these 2 types of ignorance.
There you go.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Whatever suffering exists for the beings in cyclic existence, pile it all decisively upon the self-grasping. So here you are again doing the taking and giving meditation. So whatever exists, suffering that there are, may I take it upon myself? May I take others' afflictions upon myself? It's the cause of suffering, and pile it decisively on my own self-grasping, on my own self-centeredness. Wherever the poisons of the 5 afflictions are found, so remember ignorance, anger, attachment, jealousy, pride, heap them decisively upon that which shares the same nature. So again, that's self-grasping ignorance. So we're doing the taking and giving meditation, and we're developing real courage. I'm going to take all this suffering, and because I'm fed up with this ignorance, I'm fed up with this self-centered mind. I want to be happy. I want to make my life meaningful. I'm fed up with, self-sabotage here. Okay, 93. Though having thus recognized the root of all evil through critical reasoning and beyond any doubt, if I continue to abet it and act in its defense, then destroy the very person, the grasper himself. Okay? So, though I've recognized the root of all evil, of, my self-grasping ignorance, and how have I done that? Through using critical reasoning. And I've done it so that I have absolutely the correct view of emptiness. So not just some kind of general sloppy view, but really through, hearing, thinking, and meditating about the teachings for a long time, you have the correct view. Yeah? And so therefore there's no doubts. So even though I have this correct view, if I don't really put it into practice and I don't meditate on it properly and I don't, really use it against my own internal enemy, but instead I just become a scholar and speak about it. Okay, so if I continue to abet it and act in its defense, in other words, I continue to give in to my self-centeredness and my ignorance, then destroy the very person, the grasper himself. So that doesn't mean destroy me, but it means the grasper, how we grasp at this inherently existent person. So destroy, again, that concept of an inherently existent person. Help me to see that such a kind of person cannot exist. Now I will banish all the blames into one source, and to all beings I'll contemplate their great kindness. Okay, so banishing all blames into one source, into our self-centered mind, that is an allusion to one of the injunctions in the 7-point thought training. To all beings, I'll contemplate their great kindness. So really, again and again and again, to see how our lives depend on the kindness of others and how, they've come through in almost every situation. That we couldn't stay alive without others' kindness. And they've really come through to us, for us. I will take into myself the undesirable qualities of others and dedicate my virtuous roots for the benefit of all. So taking and giving, I'll take all their undesirable qualities, all of the Four Noble Truths, I'll take true sufferings and true origins into myself, and dedicate my virtuous roots and whatever true cessation and true path, the last 2 Noble Truths, I will dedicate those for the benefit of all beings. Okay. 95. Thus, as I take on myself all negative deeds of others, committed through their three doors, body, speech, and mind, throughout all three times, past, present, and future. So, like a peacock that has colorful feathers because of poison, may the afflictions be transformed into factors of enlightenment. Okay, so by really combating my own self-centeredness and ignorance, especially through doing this taking and giving meditation with more and more sincerity and depth, and really challenging my own self-centeredness, yeah. So taking on sentient beings, not only their suffering, but also their negative karma. And when you really, meditate strongly on karma and what it means to be trapped by afflictions and karma, it's like it's really scary. And so then you think, I'm going to take, my own karmas and afflictions are scary enough, but out of compassion, I'm going to take the karma and afflictions of all living beings upon myself. So you develop that courage of a bodhisattva. So then, like a peacock who has colorful feathers because of poison, we'll be able to transform our own afflictions, into factors that propel us along the path to full awakening. 96. As I offer my roots of virtue to sentient beings, like the crow that has consumed poison and is cured by its antidote, may I hold the lifelines of liberation of all beings and swiftly attain Buddhahood, the Buddhahood of one gone to bliss. Okay, so I offer all my roots of virtue to sentient beings, so any virtuous action I do, I don't just dedicate it so that I can be happy, I can get my way, but I give this all to sentient beings. Okay, like the crow who consumed poison, but is later cured. So kind of gets transformed into a peacock magically. So I started out with the poison of my afflictions, and I'm able to transform them. So may I hold the lifeline of liberation of all beings and swiftly attain the Buddhahood of one gone to bliss. May I, through that, become a fully awakened being, and thus have everything to be able to guide others to full awakening. 97. Until all who have been my parents and I have attained full enlightenment in the Akanista realm. As we wander through the 6 realms due to our karma, may we hold each other in our hearts. That's beautiful, isn't it? So until we get enlightened in the Akanista pure realm of bodhisattvas, as long as we're in samsara, may we benefit each other. May we not interfere in each other's Dharma practice at all. So I often pray, may nobody interfere in my practice, and may I not interfere in anybody else's practice. May I never distract anybody else from their practice through my own selfishness of wanting their attention or wanting something from them. Okay, so may we hold each other in our hearts. So this is the way we should all feel about all of our Dharma friends, So in the center, this might be a good verse for everybody to recite quite often, to remind ourselves, in the Dharma center, in the monastery, to really hold each other in our hearts and really value our Dharma friends. 97. Until all who have been my parents and I have attained full enlightenment. Oh, okay. Yeah, I read that one, didn't I? Okay. 98. During that period, even for the sake of only a single being, may I immerse myself in the 3 lower realms, and without compromising the conduct of a great bodhisattva, may I relieve the sufferings of the lower realms. So even for the benefit of one kind mother sentient being, we will go through anything we need to go through without any fear. Okay, in the lower realms or out of them, and we'll do this without compromising the conduct of a great bodhisattva, and in that way we will alleviate the misery of all beings in the lower realms. 99. At that very instant, may the guardians of hell relate to me as their spiritual teacher, and may their weapons turn into a cascade of flowers, and free of harms, may peace and happiness prevail. A beautiful, visualization, isn't it? You go into the hell rooms, and all of a sudden, everybody stops, and puts down their weapons, and there's, cascade of flowers, wouldn't that be cool? You could walk right into Syria, and by the power of your love and compassion, people are just floored and they stop. Wouldn't that be amazing? You could walk into that place, which is like a hell realm, and everybody just stops and their weapons become flowers, and they turn around and help each other. Bodhisattvas pray for impossible things. But hey, it's a good thing to imagine, because that will give us the ability to reach out and do whatever we can to help others. 100. May the beings of the lower realms too obtain clairvoyance and matra, and may they attain human or celestial rebirths and generate the awakening mind. May they repay my kindness through spiritual practice, and may they take me as their teacher and rely upon me. So that may all these beings that I'm helping in the lower realms get realizations. May they have good rebirths where they can continue to practice without obstacles. May they generate bodhicitta, and may they repay my kindness by taking me as their teacher and rely upon me. But that's not because I want a lot of disciples, because I'm such a special guru and I want a little bit of, a whole club of groupies chasing after me. But it's because in the previous verse I've attained full awakening, so now I have the ability to really guide others. So may nobody completely, there's no thought of self at all, so therefore may others take me as their teacher, because now I really have the ability to guide them. 101. At this time too, may all the beings of the higher realms meditate thoroughly on no self, just like me, and without conceptually opposing existence to pacification, may they meditate on their perfect equanimity. May they recognize their self-identity as perfect equanimity. Okay, so not only the lower realms are we going to help the beings born there, but also the beings of the higher realms. So they too meditate on selflessness, on emptiness, and have the correct view. And then without, we say samsara and nirvana. In one way, we say samsara and nirvana are equal. Okay? In one way, samsara and nirvana are opposite. Yeah. In terms of samsara being empty of true existence and nirvana being empty in true existence, they're the same. They're equal in being empty. So that's speaking of their ultimate nature. They're equal in having the ultimate nature of emptiness. In terms of their conventional nature, samsara sucks, as they say, and nirvana is what we want to attain. Okay? So here in this verse, what you're doing is you're meditating on the ultimate nature of samsara and nirvana. And in that respect, they're equal. So you regard them with equanimity. So as a great bodhisattva with great compassion, if you see samsara and nirvana as equal, then you're not afraid to, manifest in the realms of great suffering in order to benefit sentient beings. 102. If I do this, the enemy will be vanquished. If I do this, false conception will be vanquished. I'll meditate on the non-conceptual wisdom of no self. So why would I not attain the causes and effects of Buddha's form body? Okay, so through meditating on selflessness, actually we'll attain the Buddha's truth body, and then by performing the deeds out of compassion, we will attain the Buddha's form body. And when you attain Buddhahood, you get both of these bodies at the same time, to fulfill the needs of sentient beings and our own needs. 103, listen, now he's going to go into another section that's really talking about emptiness here. Listen, all of this is but dependent origination. Dependent and empty, they are void of self-subsistence. Changing from one form to another, they are like apparitions. Like a fire ring seen in a rotating torch, they are mere illusions. Like a plant and tree, life force has no inner core. Like a bubble, life has no inner core. Like a mist, it dissipates when one bends down to look. Like a mirage, it is beguiling from a distance. Like a reflection in a mirror, it appears tangible and real. Like a fog, it appears as if it is here to stay. Okay? So while things are empty of true existence, they appear to have true existence. So it's in that way that they are like illusions. Okay? They are not illusions because an illusory thing does not exist. But they are like illusions in that illusions appear one way but exist in another. Okay? So if you look, when you ride in Disneyland and you're coming out of Magic Mountain and you look and there's a ghost sitting next to you, okay, because of the hologram, yeah, it looks like a real ghost, but it's not a real ghost. Yeah, but there is the appearance of a ghost. Okay? So in the same way, it looks like there's a real self, and every object looks like it inherently exists. But in fact, there are no inherently existent people or objects. But still, that appearance is there. So things are like illusions, but they're actually empty. Yeah? So this is a very high level of realization. And when you get to that, then you begin to see that, things appear so solid, but when you do a little bit of analysis, you can't locate anything that is it. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that, are those like common images in like a lot of different texts?
Yes.
They kind of go through the same, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wondered if it came from here, or when you hear those explanations, or is that just something that they?
Yeah, many of these things are quite common. They come from the sutras.
Okay.
Yeah, things are like a bubble. They're like a plantain tree. It's hollow on the inside, doesn't have any essence. Like a mirage, it looks like it's there and it's not, like an echo. Yeah. Okay.
It's pointing to impermanence then. Is that the key here, impermanence?
Some things are pointing to impermanence. Some things are pointing to the false appearance of emptiness, false appearance of true existence. Okay, so trying to help us get break through both of those things. First, we have to recognize that the things that we see as permanent are actually impermanent. That's an easier realization, but it's a step in the way of seeing that though things appear truly existent, they aren't. Okay? The one, like a fog, it appears as if it is here to stay. This is what you should do when you have a problem. Because when we have a problem, it looks like this is it. I have this problem, it's never going to go away. My whole life is ruined, it's lost, things are never going to change, woe is me. And if we learn to train, to see our mind, to see that this situation, by its very nature, is changing momentarily. There's no way it could remain the same even if we wanted it to. So it's like the fog, when it's a foggy morning, you think, oh, the light, the sun's never going to come out, but then the fog lifts because things change. 105, this butcher and enemy, ego too, is just the same. Okay, so it's impermanent. It is empty of true existence. Though ostensibly it appears to exist, it never does. Though seemingly real, nowhere is it really. Through appearing, it's beyond reification. Though appearing, it's beyond reification and refutation. Okay, so this inherently existent person that we think we are, this me that we cling to, okay, that truly existent me has never existed. Okay? There's a conventionally existent person that exists by merely being labeled, but there is no solid me, even if I wanted there to be. So all this self-clinging, all this, I've got to do this because I'm so afraid of what's going to happen to me. There's no solid me that needs to really worry about these things. But it's because we believe that what doesn't exist exists that we go so crazy. Yeah? So that's what it gets at. So how, okay, so 106. So how can there be a wheel of karma? It's thus, though they are devoid of an intrinsic existence, just as a moon's reflection appears in a cup of water, karma and its effects appear as diverse falsehoods. So within this mere appearance, I will follow the ethical norms. So then sometimes in this talk of, there's no truly existent person, there's no truly existent afflictions, there's no truly existent karma, then in the process of negating the true existence of these things, then people go to the other extreme and say, then there's no karma, there's no person, there's no samsara, there's nothing. There's just total non-existent. So that's the extreme of denigration, okay, the extreme of annihilation. So we don't want to go to that extreme either, but the question comes up is if there's no self, then, how does karma continue from one life to the other? Okay, well, karma exists by being merely labeled. The person exists by being merely labeled. All these things that don't have a findable essence that are them still exist, but not in the way that we project they exist. Okay? So karma, the person, happiness, suffering, all these things exist. So we need to keep ethical norms. We need to follow the law of cause and effect, because emptiness means that things are dependent arising. Okay, and the fact that things are dependent arising means their emptiness. In other words, dependent arising and emptiness don't contradict each other. This is a very, very important point. I wish I had more time to go into it, but we are in the fast lane. Okay, so the conclusion, I will follow the ethical norms. That's really important for us, okay? 107, when the fire at the end of the universe blazes in a dream, I feel terrified by its heat, though it has no intrinsic reality. Likewise, although hell realms and their likes have no intrinsic reality, out of trepidation for being smelt, burnt, and so on, I will forsake evil. Okay, so in the same way, though things are empty, they still exist. Pay attention here. I think I need to hold the baby to get people to pay attention to me. Okay, so likewise, although hell realms and the like have no intrinsic existence, they still exist conventionally, so we have to take care not to create the karma to be reborn in them. Okay, 108, when in furious delirium, although there is no darkness at all, one feels as if plunged and trapped inside a deep, dark cave. So too, although ignorance and so on lack intrinsic reality, I will dispel ignorance by means of the three wisdoms. So again, this whole idea of, when we're not seeing things clearly, when we have a fever, when we're dreaming, when we take a hallucinogenic drug, whatever it is, we're not seeing things in the way they actually exist. Yet there is some kind of appearance there that is functioning. So in the same way too, even our afflictions, though they appear, don't grasp them as truly existent. Yeah, they change. They exist only by being merely labeled. They're not permanent or anything like that. Okay, so we, by the three wisdoms, hearing, thinking, meditating, we will dispel this ignorance. 109, when a musician plays a song with his violin, if probed, there is no intrinsic reality to the sound, yet melodious tunes arise through aggregation of unprobed facts and soothe the anguish that lies in people's hearts. Likewise, when karma and its effects are thoroughly analyzed, though though they do not exist intrinsically, one or many. Vividly appearing, they cause the rising and cessation of phenomena. Seemingly real, they experience birth and death of every kind. So within this mere appearance, I'll follow the ethical norms. Okay? So when somebody's playing music, there's music, and the music has an effect. But if you try and find the music, where are you going to find it? Is it in the instrument? Is it the sound waves? Is it your ear organ? Can you isolate something that is the music? When you search, no, you can't. But when you're not searching, due to certain things happening in, the wood and the strings, and then there being sound waves and air and your ear and your nervous system and everything, then you hear music. But you can't find the music when you search for it. Yet you hear it, and it affects you. Sweet music can calm your mind. So in the same way, our actions bring results, though they don't truly exist. They still bring results, and the results we experience are our experience. And so since we want happiness and not suffering, let's follow the ethical norms. Okay? 111, when drops of water fill a vase, it is not the first drop that fills it, nor the last drop, nor each drop individually. Through the gathering of dependent factors, the vase is filled. So we can see that. It's quite obvious, Yeah. Likewise, when someone experiences joy and suffering, the effects of karma, this is not due to the first instant of their cause, nor is it due to the last instant of their cause. Joy and pain are felt through the coming together of dependent factors. So within this mere appearance, I will observe ethical norms. Okay, so we experience happiness and suffering due to our karma, but if we look at what our karma was, a virtuous action or a non-virtuous action, can you find something that is the action? No, you can't find. There's a combination of an action, an object, there's moments of time of doing the object, of doing the action, there's the completion of the action. So you can't find something that is it. Yet still, we create karma and we experience the result. And when we experience the result, again, there's no solid result. When we experience happiness, it's something that exists by being designated on moments that are similar of a pleasant feeling. Same when we experience suffering. Okay? So although things are empty, because they still exist and they still function, following ethical conduct is really important. Okay? 113. So utterly delightful when left unanalyzed. This world of appearance is devoid of any essence, yet it seems as if it really does exist. Profound indeed is this truth, so hard for the weak to see. So this summarizes the whole thing. When we don't analyze and try and find what something is, it's there, and it functions. But this world of appearance, when we try and look, who exactly is that person? What exactly is happiness? What exactly is an action? We can't find anything we can draw a line around and say this is for sure it, permanently, always it, independent of any other factor. Okay? So, on one hand, when unanalyzed, things exist and they function. On the other hand, when analyzed with the reasoning analyzing the ultimate, we can't find anything. Okay? So, dependent arising, functioning, empty of true existence, these two things complement each other. They don't contradict. Yeah? And so this is, especially in Jay Rinpoche's teaching, a point that he emphasizes again and again and again. Okay? It's profound is this truth, okay, that dependent arising and emptiness are compatible. 14. Now as I place my mind on this truth in total equipoise, what is there that retains definite appearance? What exists and what does not exist? What thesis is there anywhere of is or is not? There is no object, no subject, nor no ultimate nature of things, free of all ethical norms and conceptual elaborations. If I abide naturally within this uncontrived awareness, in ever-present innate state, I will become a great being. So these two verses here are talking about when a yogi is in meditative equipoise on emptiness. Okay, so when they have that direct, non-conceptual realization of emptiness, the mind is only emptiness appears to that mind. There's no appearance of anything else. There's no appearance of me as the meditator. There's no appearance of the conventional object that we're meditating on the emptiness of. There's just the appearance of emptiness. Okay? And so at that point, there's no appearance of any conventional object. So when it says free of all ethical norms and conceptual elaborations, it means in meditative equipoise, there's no appearance of conventional things. It does not mean when you come out of meditative equipoise that those things don't exist. And this is where some people go wrong, and they say, there's no good, there's no bad, there's no need to keep ethical standards when you've realized emptiness. And that's completely wrong. In fact, if you've realized emptiness, you observe ethical standards even more, with more precision and more mindfulness and introspective awareness, because you see that things arise dependently and they are empty. Okay? So when you hear some of these, charlatanandas I was referring to before, there's no good, there's no bad, you can drink, you can do this and that, and you just perceive all as empty. Yeah. Well, that's fine if you've perceived everything as empty with direct wisdom and you have single-pointed concentration on that. However, when you're not in that meditative equipoise, you pay attention. Okay. 116. Thus, by practicing conventional awakening in mind and the ultimate mind of awakening, so conventional bodhicitta, aspiring for the enlightenment for the benefit of all beings, ultimate bodhicitta, the wisdom directly realizing emptiness. Through this, may I accomplish without obstacles the two accumulations of merit and wisdom, and thus realize perfect fulfillment of the two aims. So the aim of myself, the aim of others, so my own purpose or aim is fulfilled by attaining the wisdom dharmakaya, the truth body of the Buddha. The aims of others are fulfilled by attaining the rupakaya or form body of the Buddha. And thus it's a tradition when you finish something. Maybe should I? Okay. Should we start over at the beginning for a few verses? So I just read. Homage to the three jewels. This is the wheel of weapons striking at the vital points of the enemy's body. Homage to the wrathful Yamataka. When peacocks roam through the jungle of virulent poison, though the gardens of medicinal plants may be attractive, the peacock flocks will not take delight in them, for peacocks thrive on the essence of virulent poisons. Likewise, when heroes enter the jungle of cyclic existence, though the gardens of happiness and prosperity may seem beautiful, the heroes will not become attached to them, for heroes, the bodhisattvas, thrive in the forest of suffering to benefit all sentient beings. So there we go. We did it.
3 minutes to spare.
3 minutes to spare. Okay.